since we're in San Bernardino, a lot of people find military to be the escape from San Bernardino. There's really nothing to do here.
The biggest thing to know about San Bernardino and about the campuses where our particular NEH grant conversations are taking place is that they are largely commuter-based, which means people are coming from all over with a diverse and multitudinous amount of experiences, educational backgrounds, and economic backgrounds.
So my name is Dr. Rachel Keener. I'm a psychologist here at Cal State University in San Bernardino in the Counseling Center, and I run a support group for veterans on campus. It's been going since 2009, and it's just been a wonderful place for veterans to come and process experiences they had in the war zone and also what it's been like for them to adjust to being back in the civilian world. And so my role this summer with the grant was to teach the discussion leaders what they can expect in working with the veterans, and also to be aware of the psychological and emotional needs that the veterans experience and the stressors that they experience as they readjust to being back in civilian life.
Understanding what veterans do and what the word truly means has just been an eye-opener for me, both as part of this area and seeing the number of people that we have here from all across the globe who have been a part of our military and consider themselves veterans. It's been an amazing experience. In the discussions, it has been varied but overwhelmingly positive. They are so glad and so excited for this opportunity to be approached not only from people that they probably would never interact with or never think to interact with, but to get to talk about these types of things in such a way that is completely new to them, and it's all very exciting. They've all been very open, very emotional, both not necessarily in negative, but positive ways. And it's just been overwhelmingly positive.
And so while these discussion groups are not therapy groups, in a sense, they kind of are, because they're hitting on so many different themes that do come up in therapy groups. It's just a safer context for people to talk about it because it's not necessarily their own story.
You know, the first day of training was introductions and backgrounds, and some of them have family members that were, that served in the military, and I think there was only one that didn't know anyone that had served. So, but during the course of training, I seen that whenever I gave substance to the text that we were reading, like I could see almost like light bulbs clicking, like, oh, okay, I get this. And because I used some of my own stories from my service to say, well, this is what happened, and this is, I think, in line with this part of the text, and they were very understanding, and I was actually very, very happy because it seemed like they were ready to engage. They were ready to just take everything and run with it.
Before I can get them to talk to themselves or about themselves, they probably need a model to follow in one fashion or another. And so it is important to bring in a variety of different texts from a variety of different perspectives to make sure that these individuals recognize that within the humanities, they are in some fashion being represented.
I didn't serve, but when this project came up, when you came up with this project, it was something that I wanted to do because I had seen the pain in so many of my family members.
It's something that as a soldier, They were never told this is something that's relatable for you. This is something for academics. This is something for the students. This is something that smart people are supposed to be looking at. You're a soldier, that's not your job. Your job is to do what you're told. And that's a part of who they are still. And to have this opened up to them by someone who is an academic, someone who they look at and say, that's a student, that's not a soldier, I think has worked so well, because we've not been leaders, we've been facilitators. We've made it clear, we're here to help you talk about this. We're here to make this accessible to you on your terms. And I think there's been a resounding response to that.
Many of the participants, I think, really get the understanding that they're not necessarily not alone on campus, but again, the understanding that these kinds of problems stretch back as far as we have literature. It goes back to Achilles, it goes back, thousands of years, and you have soldiers who deal with the same kinds of things. And these are the soldiers that these are soldiers that struggle, and these are soldiers that also triumph over these things as well. So it gives a sense of cohesion, and I think that any soldier understands that it's much better to suffer with somebody than to suffer alone. It doesn't seem so much as suffering if you have people to lean on one another.
I do have a small background in drama from my high school years, so I was a little familiar with some of those Greek tragedies, and I'm actually very fond of the Greek tragedy genre.
In a way, if you just go up to somebody and say, you don't feel right because you've had this trauma, that's not as effective. You've got to be able to give them some distance. That's the aesthetic distance that allows them for self-reflection. I mean, that's what theater is.
When we introduced them to these texts that dealt with the story of Achilles, that dealt with the story of Heracles and Philoctetes and the things they saw, the way they connected it with some of the things they were talking about, we would have never seen. We became enlightened rather than them becoming enlightened, and it worked so well. It was really phenomenal to see the things that they had to talk about and the connections they had to make, both to their time in the service and to who they are presently, and the connections they formed, and how they're still so much a part of who they are, and they refuse to give that up or ignore it, that they're proud of what they did, they're proud of who they are. And while the loss is still there, even that holds some really significant importance to them, even now, some 30, 40 years out of their service.
I can read Plato, I can read the Phaedo, which is the death of Socrates, and I can get a tear in my eye because the humanity that they're able to put into this, a rather arcane literature.
I think the catharsis actually comes from like a combination of connecting with other people in the room, people who have had the same experiences, people who haven't had those experiences. I mean, just like platforms for these ideals, or not ideals, but like platforms for these ideas are, I think, what's most important. It might be connecting to the literature. I always think like having something like external from yourself allows you to look at things that normally you would probably try to shut down.
Just knowing that they had a similar experience during a similar time period, it's so beneficial. It's like what Karl Marlantes says in his book. He says a lot of the vets from World War II, they had a long boat ride coming home, so they're able to tell their stories to each other and heal in a way. But now they just put them on a plane, we're back home after an 8-hour flight, and you're not with your brothers anymore. So it's almost a way to find new brothers and sisters in dealing with war and dealing with their experiences.
We have women, we have men that come to these discussions. We also have combat vets who have been in very serious combat, who have spilled blood themselves, and we have other vets who haven't necessarily done the same kinds of things, but there are common threads that all of these soldiers have, and in these discussions we can discuss those common threads, and it's always about bringing people together and never separating them, because I think one of the most important things about holding on to pieces of the military is that I honestly do think is very essential, that you are part of a team, and as you move forward, that you not that you shouldn't think of yourself, but anything that you struggle with, you're struggling with as a team.
And I think it's also overall changed my views on kind of the popular dialogues of war that happen in our society, looking more critically at how they're portrayed and how that might not be accurate. and the experiences that go on between soldiers and how those are kind of affected and recreated even in pop culture places that are inaccurate or accurate in particular ways. And so it's really helped me think critically about our soldiers and our veterans and what they go through.
Just the fact that it's like branching out beyond our own like tight-knit sort of ideals to other things that might challenge ourselves or challenge our perceptions of how we view this. Because if you're only learning about these sort of experiences through like the literature, then you're not really learning because you're just like seeing like this one perspective. But if you can get someone else's perspective on it, that's how you like really create knowledge. So like having read the Iliad before, I have a new understanding of the Iliad through this.
Well, I think one thing the Humanities does is that, I mean, it provides an enormous latitude for a variety of different experiences in the world today. I think that's probably the most important thing. And in a way, I wouldn't call it exactly a safe space, but it is, you don't necessarily need to share the opinion or perspective of those individuals to carefully read them and think about them and see what parts apply to your own lives, what parts don't, what parts can make you understand things a little better.
I believe this can be a powerful format for veterans to come together to make connections that have been where they've felt disconnected and to begin to talk about their stories again, begin to think about their stories again.
It is hard to make sense sometimes of the things that happen to us and of the experiences that we have. It's easier when they're distanced from us in a way that is reflective because we have the ability to reflect on them and to understand those actions from someplace other than our first experience, in my opinion.
This program has been a beacon of light in the city. It's a support system. Even if we help one person, that one person was worth it.
I've definitely seen veterans talk after the meetings about different things that help them and also possibilities for the future, I guess is what I'm saying. Is you have, I mean, in the same way that you have a battle buddy and you have to risk your life with these people, I've heard conversations, man, when it gets like that, come talk to me. Here's the Veteran Center, here's where we are. You know, I mean, there are lots of things that we can do together to overcome some of these kinds of things because, and again, as I said before, it's, I think, inherent in most vets, they learn to take care of themselves and they learn to be a different kind of unit outside of the military. And I think conversations like this can definitely help.